So hello guys and welcome to my presentation. My name is Mateusz Piaskiewicz, and today I'll be talking about very hard topic when it comes to design. It's mostly about the process, not really game design literally. So it's called the traps and cans of worms that we encounter during or when designing games. And hopefully you'll like it. So a bit of background about me. Currently, I'm doing full-time level design job and also consulting. And just in case, I'm open for consulting jobs if you need. Okay, let's go to Kickstart. So first of all, I need to actually tell you what this presentation will be about a bit more. So I was always curious about why and how do bad games and good games happen. Like these are two polar situations which one actually gives us cool examples how to make a good game, but also there's the bad part, which actually for me is a way better learning because these are like literally failures that we can avoid. Okay, so this presentation will look like this. I'll go for the problems that designers can face during their work, and then these problems are often hidden in plain sight. I mean, so we might be aware of these problems, but still we unconsciously ignore them. Like it's a pretty common thing. And then I'll propose some solutions. Okay, let's start. So the first thing is we lose control of the crucial element of design, the vision. And actually, it's a hard topic because I know different designers that like to get their ideas in one place. They work with different teams to establish a definition of the game that they want to make. And on the other side, I know people that actually think that defining vision is something overrated or just a waste of time, right? Because for example, they say like it will change anyway, and that's true. Like, but there's a misconception of creating the vision. But yeah, I'll be talking about a bit later. So I'll focus maybe on these less positive aspects, on people that say that it's not necessary. And this negative approach to defining vision can be caused by that misunderstanding of how vision should be created and how it actually evolves over time. Like a lot of people think that what we write in the vision is set in stone, which is usually not the case. Usually just a living document, a living bunch of ideas somewhere around the company that is established in the first two phases, like concept and pre-production. And actually in production, we can say, okay, we're safe. This is our vision. So it can look like that. When some designers have no idea where their game should be heading, actually it's super comfortable for them to not obligate to a vision because they can change directions anytime. So that's one of these problems I want to tell you about. And such a vendoring is good, but again, it's good in an early pre-production, for example. So this situation is good for, I used to say that it's good for organic level designers, like they ignore the process, or they, I would say, cherry pick parts of the process that they like, they understand, or they just ignore the domino effect that their decisions cause. For example, they change mind over time, and they don't care about actually what happens in the trenches, I would say. Okay, so because the vision is a commitment, and any kind of commitment are not in favor for chaotic process, and lack of commitment might happen because these designers experience difficulties when working with a vision. So having a bad experience at the beginning can already establish something in your mind that actually makes you think that it was a bad idea, and simply it's interfering with our better process. Okay, and the solution here is like there could be 4 steps. I mean, 4 propositions, and keep in mind that the vision is not a silver bullet solution. That's the first thing. It's like a car. Like one person can actually be a very good driver, and the other for the other person it could be used as a weapon. So see, it's like, same thing, but the usage can be drastically different. It requires knowledge and discipline to make well thought out decisions without were following and sticking to it. So as you can see, I would say junior or beginning designers might have problem with that because of lack of that knowledge to actually define something that is worth following. The vision also gives us structure and clarity. Some people really need it. For example, I need that kind of stuff. I've also worked with designers that don't care about it. They like that chaos because they say it's more creative, which is again true. But yeah, there's a good time for creativity and good time for closing the game because we need to be on budget and on time. So yeah, some personalities are okay with that chaos, and even they are finishing the projects, but sometimes the team is not staying sane, I would say. So vision can make production less stressful, and it might prevent conflicts and burnout, for example. Okay, first thing that I've wrote here is educate. If nobody teaches about the importance of the vision and how to deal with it, how people should know it, right? Like for me, I was studying landscape architecture, and I was actually taught how to create a vision when creating some kind of, like, for example, I had a chance to work on a project of a huge coal mine in Upper Silesia because we wanted to recultivation, right? In English. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we had to turn this crappy place full of coal and eternit and whatever, any kind of stuff that is harmful for the environment to something useful for the society. Just like, turning all these beautiful buildings from 1886 to modern offices. That's a great job. But I was taught how to use the vision to actually make this possible. But for example, people that were studying something way different never had a chance to actually learn that. So yeah, so in-house, we need to educate people how to use the vision. And some companies are doing something like that. Each new employee has an orientation or a meeting with a lead and learns how the process works and what's the role of the vision. How you can affect the vision, who's the vision holder and stuff like that, and who to ask, for example, about the vision. And that's huge. Okay, second thing was evangelize. And by evangelize, I meant there's a lot of misunderstanding. It comes from poor communication. And yeah, exactly, like quite often designers simply suck at communicating the vision. So it could be awesome, but it's not communicated well. But when you have good intent, we assume too much that people get what we're saying. So this is like a very tricky thing. And quite often they don't get it, I would say. But they don't want to look stupid, and they don't want to ask exactly what's going on, why it's like that. So on the evangelization part, if we are vision holders, it's our job to actually communicate that well. Communication is the responsibility of the person that talks and also listens. So it's like both way responsibility. It's not like you just, monologue something and it's their job to process it and understand it. Yeah, okay, so there's a third thing, expose. Exposing is just showing if there's a designer that says like, oh, we will lose a lot of time on the vision. And the great case is when actually you show some, like, how other designers achieve success with a vision. And it's extremely hard to change habits of a designer that already had negative experiences with having a vision, like with dealing with vision. And because like they form that for years, it could be tough. But the best method, for example, in my opinion, is just exposing people to a good example. So they need they need to silence the doubt and be open for that, of course. So people have to be ready for that kind of feedback. But being a part of disciplined, focused team and seeing firsthand how great it can work, that's the best learning. And I had a chance to, I was in that kind of experience where I had a chance to work with really amazing people. And I've seen firsthand how it can turn out really well. Okay, and the last thing is like a partially joke, but partially true. Evacuate. It means that if you feel that you're in bad hands, that the team needs vision and still the people that make decisions are ignoring that, I think that's in your career, it could be a waste of time. So it's not a career advice from me, but what I would do would be just searching actively for a better place. Because when you work with people that are not brave enough to commit to a vision, yeah, this can really go south. Okay, what else? Exactly. So there's nobody to drive the vision. Yeah, again, I already mentioned a few times a topic of a vision holder. So that's a person that it could be a creative director. Usually it's a full-time job. It's a person that holds the vision and actually is a first point of contact usually. So if there's no clear vision holder, then even the vision that's established by teams can really drift away. We need a full-time person that actually syncs all the teams constantly to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we are going to achieve the same goal. The result of working without a vision or with a vision that actually drifts away is usually a consistency problem. You will see that different departments went their own way. So the game feels like it's a product that is sticked out of few different games. Like characters look different, the environment looks like the level of abstraction is different. So it can feel like something intentional, but usually it shows some kind of mistakes and problems in the team. All right, so yeah, I've talked a lot of about the vision holder full-time job, and yeah, like keep in mind that vision is something not like a shoot and forget solution, but you do it once and everything will be fine. There must be that person that lets, I would say, person that lets the vision evolve, because it shouldn't be like there's one guy telling everyone how to do their job and what to do exactly. That would be like some kind of like micromanagement even. The vision has to evolve with input from people, from like everyone, even juniors. There's no problem with that. If someone is actually getting ideas that are consistent with a vision, why not? Okay, and let's see what would be the solution. Oh, and one more thing. So in some teams, some people can feel fear of being judged, so they are afraid to commit to ideas. For example, like vision holders, they are afraid to say like we're going this way, and it comes from some misunderstandings on what means to hold a vision. The team can expect that one person will deliver a perfect recipe for the game, which doesn't work like that. Even during production at the beginning, sometimes even in the middle of the production, things will change a bit. At least if it doesn't affect the product a lot, it should be fine, because we want to create a best game ever. And when something actually collapses in our hands, we don't want to ship that. Okay, so if there are people that expect from you that perfectionism and they will judge you on your failures, that's really a toxic culture in the team. And I'm not surprised that people are afraid of committing to ideas. Okay, solution. The solution is define the process and responsibilities, guide and involve people. Okay, let's start from define the process. Make sure that vision folder is named, not folder, but holder, sorry. So the thing is here, like I've seen places where we have a vision, we want to actually do something with it, but nobody knows actually how vision holder works, like what are his or her responsibilities, and it's not defined. So because of that lack of definition, people with assumptions of like what they can propose, and how and when, stuff like that. So it should be defined. Sorry, it should be defined. When there are clear areas of expertise, and that person has mandate to make decisions, and everyone is open to failure. Of course, like a side note, recently I've heard a cool thing: we shouldn't celebrate failures, but celebrate learnings from failures, just in case. So yeah, so being open to failure, which means not being afraid of breaking the good decision track record. Okay. What else? Okay, my point here is that your lead knows your work and has expertise to guide you. So there should be a person that is super distant from you. They have no idea. For example, if like I'm a level designer, and if I would have a person that has no idea how level design works, and he's getting me like crappy ideas of like how to glue a few different games on what we already established, this person might have complete lack of understanding of what we already created and how changing what we have to that vision, like how much work it would be. So yeah, it's great when the person is very close to you, like it's your lead or it's a director that understands what you're doing. Quite often distant directors cannot help you, and especially in low level problems, like converting his ideas to a real game. Okay, second thing was guide. We are only humans, so we make mistakes and forget about things. So it's great when we have something like a cheat sheet, and I will later show you something like that. It's not really a cheat sheet, but something like a checklist that helps you remember. It's like key points of the vision. Like you can always see, for example, you are doing art for one of the levels, and you're getting a guideline of, for this level, this is what we want to create, and this is not what we want to create. So when there's like, I don't know, like ninja puppies topic, here it is how they live and how we want to make it. But some people are thinking ninja puppies about something completely different, and here are examples of like what we don't want to create, right? So that kind of guide is great. And okay, and also include people. So first, they are listened. What's good here is like that people will feel listened, and they will able to give feedback and hear the answer of like what actually makes that, is his idea or her idea consistent, or maybe it's a good idea but not for this game. People should hear that and accept that kind of stuff, like, okay, I understand now. Then second thing, they can put their part into the vision. So for example, if they get their ideas approved, they see that there's a few bricks in this wall that are actually his, and because of that he'll start to defend his vision because it's also his. Super important if actually you want to get people on board. All right. Third thing, yeah, exactly. It's my favorite because I always forget about stuff. Like maybe, I don't know, it's my age or I have too many things on my head, but it's simply impossible to remember everything, multitask, and not forget about any important aspects. It happens for me all the time. And it's normal. Like, we need to remember that we are only humans. Our brains can focus on one thing at a time. So, for example, like you can read only one book at a time and focus on that. Or when people are talking, you are listening to one person because you really want to hear what the person is saying, and everybody around, when you hear them talking, you really focus, and it's hard, right? So we are not multitaskers. We cannot actually do multiple things. Actually, what our brains are doing is called context switching, which is rapidly switching between topics. And the biggest harm we can do for ourselves here is when you quickly jump around different topics, and actually every time we jump, we need some time to actually understand where we are, what's the current state. We need to gather information, form ideas, and it takes a bit of time. So by interrupting yourself, you're just putting that kind of downtime on tasks. So try to interrupt programmers, for example. That's my best example, because I see them. So I've seen a bunch of examples like that. You're going to a programmer and getting him from his coding flow, asking about something, and then observe. Like, he might be super chilled and tell you the answer, and just observe what he's doing after that. So after a few minutes of talk, when he'll look on the code, he'll be like, oh, what I was doing. And he will start checking, like, oh, okay, that and that. Sometimes it takes them a bit of time to actually get on track. Okay, so we're already 20 minutes and we're just starting. Okay, let's go faster. Okay, so my technique here is jumping between topics only when I feel that I'm blocked in one place. And also the cool thing here is I want to show you the checklist versus bullet point list in creative time, and what it means to get help. So when it comes to checklists, there's a bunch of people saying that checklists suck because everything we create from checklists will feel repetitive. It's same structure, same gameplay all the time, because it's checklist, like check, 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 we have everything. So what I propose usually is making a bullet point list. It's a mental difference. We understand that mentally different because checklist is an obligation of we want to have it. And bullet point list can be formed in a way how guidelines look like. So instead of saying like this quest should have that and that and that, you can write that it's good when quests have checkpoints in such places, for example, right? It's way different, doesn't obligate that to do that, but it obligates us to think about it. It still makes the same thing. It makes us think about it, about things that we couldn't remember, for example. Okay, the creative time is something that you can actually book in your calendar every day or every week, or how you want to do it. It's a time of a day that is only for you and working. So there are no meetings, no coffee breaks, no chit chats. It's a moment where you can get stuff done. And I found that actually that getting rid of that kind of mentality of like, yay, we're multitaskers, and yeah, with that thing, I started getting things done way better. And getting help is about how to say that, like, some designers want to prove that they can do stuff, but there's always a risk that something will go south. So when it's too late to get help, yeah, maybe it's like, the work is not done. So actually at the beginning, when you see you have a bunch of like, scope work or estimates, it's great to actually go and get help, ask people about the opinion, instead of like be worried later. Okay, the next thing. Oh, one more thing. Yeah, guidelines. Exactly. I was talking about that a bit at the beginning about the vision. So imagine that you're asked about a decision that you've made, and at the beginning of pre-production, and yeah, that this decision was made at the beginning of the pre-production. So it was a year ago. Do you remember that? There's a chance when it's a huge topic, like how many levels we're doing, yeah, you might remember that. But for a bit slightly less important things, there's a huge chance that you will not remember that. So here, keeping a guideline, like how I do that, like, for example, every team has a definition of how they want to make this game on a high level. So any kind of decisions during pre-production are landing in such guidelines, and every team has one or even two or many, for depending on the structure. For example, in level design, we have what kind of layout we'll use, how we define hierarchy of space, what play styles we want to provide, what navigation methods we want to use. And you do that because your game will be consistent. If you ask a bunch of people in your team to use their own methods, they will come up with different solutions. Every designer will use his undefined method, and you can get a huge mess. Like players will sense that there's something messy around, and it's not in a good case, not in a good way. Sorry. So yeah, okay, let's go to the next thing. We have no time for reflection and learnings. Yeah, there's always something on fire. That's really common in a bunch of studios. So the fire needs to be extinguished, and usually like we are the specialists to do that. We have this kind of like glows that prevent us from getting stuff fired, and when we pull out the game from the fire, everybody is happy, and we have one day of celebration, and there's another fire right next in the next team or something like that, or in a different topic. So there's no time to learn why actually that fire happened and how to prevent stuff from catching fire. Like usually we are doing some kind of postmortems, but when it happens, that's great. But even when we have it, it depends how they end up. Like it can happen with like there's no action. It was just a waste of time, like waste of great opportunity to actually learn something and prevent this fire in the future. And how we can solve that is exposing yourself, having a sounding board, accepting few things, understanding few things, and implementing changes. So this is a big one. It will take a while. So exposing yourself means that you're asking people about the rights and wrongs you did well. I mean, you did it's like your personal postmortem. Then you're meeting people together and talking about it. But the crucial thing here, you need to be open for that. You need to be ready for that. So just sit down, lower your guard, bite your tongue, anything what you do to stop talking and listen to them. Usually people might have weird solutions to problems, but you just want to listen what the problem was, what they felt, what they noticed, what caused problems, or what caused that kind of domino effect of somewhere else we started a fire by mistake. Okay, so, and remember that you'll be never ready to hear bad news, because usually it's bad news. So I think it's like with vaccinations, just do it. I know it sucks, it hurts. When I'm seeing needles, I'm very close to losing conscious, so I'm just not watching, and yeah. But we just need to do it. Okay, the sounding board is a cool thing, because when you have a few different people in a team, and you might trust them, but also there could be cultures in a studio that all of that kind of failure information goes around the studio, and everybody's like tossing rocks at you, like how you messed up. So yeah, that can happen, and it's great to actually have a trusted person with expertise that you trust, and he wants to listen to you. So you just talk about what you think, and he honestly expose facts or opinions, but still something about your work. So having a trusted person is also a great thing. Okay, when it comes to acceptance, it's important that you're in a mindset that allows you to accept critique. As I mentioned before, like any kind of meeting that will require accepting critique should be like, you have to be ready, but you will be never ready, so just go it and shut up. Remember that also, like, you're not special. That's the way how you can seize your ego, that will tell you that you're awesome and that it's never your fault. So just remember, you're not a special great designer, the most clever guy in the room. You're a great leader. If you'll think about it, if you'll think that you might be wrong, and therefore what other people say might be right, then you're in a way better place than if you would go there with thinking about how to defend or how everyone failed around because of their incompetent or whatever. So just when you stop defending yourself and blaming others, it will flow. So that's a bit of like, I call that is an ego problem. It will do everything to make you feel like a winner, but you're always like, because our psyche doesn't want to feel bad about things. Because being bad is really, it can get to huge stress. It affects our life, our health, and it can kill us in the long term. So it's our natural defending system to say like, no, we're good. It's not our fault. So yeah, that's so exactly. Ego will make you a winner and a smart guy, but the problem is everybody around will feel miserable because of that. So the teamwork should be a win-win situation. So again, like if you seize that behavior, you'll be able to understand what they are saying. Okay, and yeah, when it comes to understanding, there's that thing that you can learn on intuitive level. It's by repeating the same mistake many times, so you actually create a proper reaction on a habit level. And usually you don't have the time to do that. Like during primal times, we've learned that to prevent, to run from tigers or whatever, or not eating red mushrooms. But yeah, it doesn't work like that in a workplace. We don't have time to actually see that that kind of guy makes that kind of stuff, so I need to be worried about it. So instead of doing that kind of like reinforcing habits, you can investigate the problem and reflect with your team upon the solutions. So it's more conscious approach, and then implement. All these learnings are cool. I used to call that a chocolate approach. When you get out from the post-mortem and actually everybody was super open, we found great problems, we found great solutions, we were happy. It's like eating chocolate, and then you go home and you don't remember anything, and after a month you're doing same mistakes and you feel sorry about it because there was something animating. So yeah, implementing for me is like putting these solutions to the process. So you will see the results of these failures around the office, in your culture, in your processes, in your approach, but it has to be put somewhere, especially for the new designers that come to your team. We need to prevent them from doing our mistakes. Okay. And the guidelines also are very good for that. Okay, we have an average bar for quality and expectations. That's quite true. I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but it's a common problem. So some designers are going with the first idea in mind. Usually it's like a collection of cliches they've seen recently. That's how our brain works. Like if someone asks you how to create something, you bet for what you know perfectly or you've seen recently. So you toss this idea, and if you go with it, it could be a cliche. It was already seen. It's not creativity. So it's great when a vision holder actually inspires people, like inspires designers to set high quality bar. That we don't want to work like that, but we're tossing this first idea and we're implementing that because like Mario did that, or Call of Duty did that, so it must be fine. And there are two polar examples of different approaches to that. First, I call blind passion. It's like young designers coming from school and they love making games. It's their passion. They do that at home, they do it at work, they think about it, they read about it. It's their most important thing in their lives. So usually they might ignored, for example, costs and resource requirements because they want to create something best. It's the quality of our quality is the best thing, because they want to create an amazing game, and they don't want to actually hear about the reality of like, hey, that's our budget. We don't have people to do it. And the second polar side of that is, I call that a business mind. It's a designer that actually wants to maximize profit. So the quality is not important, but we want to have not even buzz for the buck, but more like Just do it cheaply because players will pay anyway, like that kind of mentality. And with that, like thinking about the cost and doing cheap solutions just to get something fast is, for me, the lowest quality you can create. And quite often we set the quality bar that is somewhere in the middle. I remember listening to one podcast when someone said that we are new average, which means if someone asks you if you're a good driver, everybody says that they are above average. Everybody, they don't suck at driving, but they know that they are not the best because they like ignoring speed limits or stuff like that, but they are not doing that crap shit that actually, like, driving on the sidewalk and stuff like that. No. So yeah, exactly, we point ourselves in the upper middle, I would say, and that upper middle part actually is the lower middle part, sadly. It's because of, like, how to say that, yeah, keep in mind that everybody feels a bit better than average, and it means that actually the people that don't want to be there, that they actually aim really high, the best in the industry, I would say, they already moved on to the next step. They are already doing games on new consoles. They're already inventing new stuff, and they innovate. And we are still stuck in thinking that we are not that bad. We will never be the best, and still we are not the best. So actually we're not doing any move. So we are staying in place. So yeah, that's really crap. Okay, and the solution here is you can lead by example and aim high. By leading, I don't really literally mean that you have to be a leader of the team, but leading as demonstrating your professionalism, for example, of like, I want to make something really high quality. And for example, we have a benchmark of quality, and leading by example is showing that actually we always want to create something great. I was once in a company that used to say good enough isn't, which means we can have these cool ideas and we can stick to them, but it isn't great. So yeah, that's our approach. And I've often I heard that during design meetings, that it's good, but isn't good for us, for that company. We're something more than average. Okay, so aim high. To make it clear what is expected by the vision, you can prepare a benchmark section, for example, like I've already mentioned, of the level or a vertical slice. And aiming high is creating something that actually is doable with our resources, but it's also touchable, I would say. Like, you can see, like, this is the level we want to create. We figure out that all these meshes can be created for all these, I know, districts or biomes in the level. So it's doable and it looks great. And this is our benchmark, right? So making a benchmark is not about doing beautiful assets, but finding a spot between quality, like really high quality, and the constraints we have. So let's like budget, team size, or engine limitation, like technical limitations, right? Okay. We hope for the best and prepare for the best, but often the opposite happens. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the worst biases that can happen in when there's a design leader or just senior designers that are decisive. When you show them certain problems, and what you hear back actually is that these designers downplay potential dangers with statements like, it will be fine, it's only game, bad things happen, like for everyone but not us, right? Like, oh my god, I've heard that for so many times, and usually it ends with maybe not tragedy, but yeah, we could avoid that. So such thing, usually I call that wishful thinking. It's like assumptions detached from realistic expertise or data. We wish that something will be cool, but we are overly optimistic. And actually, when in a team where you have such designers and actually it works, I mean, they achieve success, they are doing that habit of like, this is how games are made, until they will get actually in trouble because of that. And yes, exactly. And when that failure happens, it might end up really bad. Okay, so it was okay, yeah. So with being like, what I would say is the best thing is would to be optimistic, but exactly, it's called realistically optimistic. So you need to put an end to wishful thinking in your team and remove assumptions like it worked before, it will happen again, it will work again, stuff like that. But we need to get facts and data and sometimes external opinion, not because of like group voting that there are like few people saying we'll fail, so please change it. No, it's just tossing different ideas from different people to actually make them make a good decision. So yeah, calling out on, for example, ignorance of like there'll be trouble and the person is just silent, like not replying or ignoring that, or wishful assumptions, that shouldn't be normal, and we need to call that out. Okay, we oversimplify, but life is not like that. So that term is my favorite. I've heard that in a psychology podcast by Scott Barry Kaufman. I don't remember exact episode, but the problem was there was a psychologist that actually had a huge topic that required a lot of investigation, description, and stuff like that. And some people told him to squeeze that to one paper because that's too much. It's rocket science. And his answer was like, but life is not like that. Like, you cannot simplify rocket science to elementary school physics. Like, it will not fly, like literally. So our oversimplification is our nature, I would say. It's a good thing. Like, there's that moment where cutting information from fluff actually does a lot of good, and like, after cutting too much, our signal, our information will start to becoming inefficient. But yes, still we have that kind of like design mantras like less is more, or removing overwhelming information until there's nothing left, like literally, yeah, nothing left. You need to find that perfect spot where actually you oversimplify too much. So for example, in daily communication with other designers, but also in communication with the player, we might assume that they already know stuff, like, and that assumptions really can get us in trouble. And again, there could be people that they are worried to tell you that they don't understand, they don't want to feel judged, or they don't want to look like incompetent, for example, right? So I've already seen a bunch of things like reducing stuff like design process to 7 easy steps, quote unquote. Like it's a 50-minute YouTube video about making games. You if you have experience in making games, you understand that it's just dumping down the process for junior designers, and actually they believe that's the worst thing. They miss a lot of important information what's in these phases of the process, and then they are surprised, right? So this tendency appears daily in games and in communication in the studio, and really we are willing to ignore or skip important process phases to make us feel that we are more efficient. Like that feeling of efficiency is stronger than feeling of like are we cutting too much, for example. Okay, and the solution here is validation. So every time when you have something, when you have your work, and how to say that, yeah, you have a message and you want to see if it's understood. When you communicate, ask if everything is understood. Just ask people provide examples and ask if people understand that there is still always that risk of incompetency affect, I would say. But it's really better to over communicate and answer these questions to these people than later be surprised that people are not delivering what was expected because they thought they understand, but it wasn't the case. Okay, I see that we have like 6 more minutes. I'll try to talk about a bit faster. Okay, so recently, so first here, we perceive the game only from our point of view. And my point here is that recently we have access to a bunch of studies and data on how players play our games, and like really exact data. And we can make a more educated decisions of what should appear in our game and what should be cut and what actually our players like, or any other problems. So still there are designers that I would say design the old way, which means like they are doing the game for themselves, like the audience is people like him. And usually it's okay, it works, but in my opinion, the market is getting so crowded. There are so many games that actually do it really good that it's not a mistake to do such games, but it's a wasted potential to add something deep and like add strategy to your game, but it'll be a better game, simply, right? There's an example of potential mismatch between what you offer in the game and what players expect. So for example, game X offers a wide variety of activities, but players enjoy only a few of them. You have a data that actually other activities are not used. And there could be different problems. It could be an exposition problem, or it's just simply boring, or it's broken. But still, we have that data to actually tell us our decision what's the case here and how we can actually spot this problem, how we can fix that. And the thing here would be like, maybe players don't like fishing mechanics in our first-person shooter, something like that, because someone thought it would be a great idea because he's seen that in a game X, which is way different, and he was decisive person that makes decision, and he forced that upon us. And now we have data to show that actually it was a bad idea. The solution here is like, okay, a few categories: feedback, analytics, service, and tracking. But I'll just boil it down into one thing to make it faster. So if you're asking the right questions during feedback, like the playtests, focus playtests are great. Like you ask people, like players, what they think, you track where they look, how they behave. You can really check how your game is working. What else? So in my opinion, the market is getting so crowded that we have to do it. Like there's no other reason to continue the old way. And there are companies or consultants. There's a company called Quantic Foundry, I guess, Nikki. With his website, you can actually compare your game to other similar games and understand the audience a bit better, like what they prefer and stuff like that. Don't try to keep your game hidden from opinions till there is data. That really often happens. Just expose the game for players and for other designers. Nobody will steal your ideas, don't worry. Okay, so the summary, that was fast. I've actually cut a bunch of slides because the topic is huge. I like to talk about failures and solutions, especially on the vision, which is a huge topic. But yeah, in summary, I want to tell you a few things. I bet that I will hear something like that. Oh, I know it. People that are listening to this presentation will probably say like, I know it. Yeah, like, okay. But do they actually demonstrate it? That's the two things. So, like when I'm talking with designers about such topics, I feel, yes, I know it, nothing new. But when I see how they work, I can see that they are not demonstrating it. Or even making the opposite. So for example, there are designers telling how respecting the process is super important. And then after that kind of talk, they go to their silo of communication and they ignore completely different departments in the process. So it's like, I'm not talking about the hypocrisy of that thing, but I think it's a human nature. It's normal to make mistakes. It's normal to forget, and if we don't have a good leader, clear guidelines, it will happen constantly. So I bet such people don't have bad intent to make other teams fail, right? Don't get me wrong. So we can fall into a bias that when we have a lot of books, we've watched a bunch of videos, we assume that we are smart because of that. Like, it's again the same chocolate example. Like, after reading a book or watching the video, we're like, yay, we get that knowledge. But after a few weeks, what do you remember from that? Like, that's why I'm also putting all my knowledge into my learnings, and I'll show you how that looks like. So here on the left, that's a wiki page that I have. So I've made that kind of structure of design theory, core information about game, the level design process, and stuff like that. And to the right, you have a big picture of almost everything. That's like a top first part of the website. So as you can see, it's quite a lot. It took me around 13 years to create that. And I'm still updating this after, for example, reading a book. I'm marking really important things and putting that to a certain page about this topic. So every time I'm starting a new topic, for example, creating interconnected layouts, I'm going through that topic and I perfectly know what are good examples and stuff like that. Okay, we're 1 minute above time. So yeah, okay, we need to be validated on a fundamental level. And I was before I called that we need to be slapped in the face hard, but I think it was too strong, so I've called it like this. If we're not willing to do that, maybe someone else can push us. Like, it's very hard to get that discipline of like, okay, there might be something that I do crappily, so maybe I can change something. And these learnings won't just come to us with any action on our side. It's not like people will come to your house and tell you, hey, you can do that stuff. You have to reach for expertise, any kind of expert, like from the beginners, from people that already do it for years. That's awesome. Ask them to shake up your assumptions, so you have a kind of worldview of like how stuff works, and start talking about it, and they will ask you why, but what if, and be open for that. Maybe they're really figuring out something new, that you're making mistakes, but don't want to tell you, oh, you suck at this. He'll be just asking why, until you actually understand that, like, oh yeah, that makes some sense. So even if you're afraid of that kind of stuff, it's not in your nature to ask people to break your worldview. Ask them how they work and listen. Like, maybe you'll find something cool. Like, again, exposing yourself to someone else's worldview, like design methods, can be super useful. But we need to consciously be open to differences, because our nature is to actually defend stuff that we already have in habits, because it saved our ass many times. Okay, and the last one here is issues with design process are not appearing immediately. It's not like you do mistake or a bunch of mistakes and actually there's a feedback from the sky or from a person behind us saying, that sucks, we need to change that. Usually they breed from years of tossing unaddressed problems under the rug. That's a huge problem. Like, waiting to get stuff forgotten and die out naturally is a huge problem. So, okay, so what I mean here is it takes years of ignoring problems and lowering our quality bar to make a real and visible harm to the design process. So it's very easy to ignore, this it's not important, we can skip this process, and it's a time bomb that actually one day will actually explode and break off our team, like, rip off our team, or I don't know, not maybe that rip off, but I mean that people will start leaving because they don't want to work like that. Yeah, so you can compare it to vitamins and exercise and painkillers. So people that take vitamins and they exercise, they want to prevent something in the future, and that's these learnings I was talking about. They address potential issues for their safety, and it's not a waste of time. Don't think about it as a waste of time. Again, there are also painkillers, or even worse, medicine that are used when it's already too late, when you already get sick and maybe really seriously sick, and then you are in the worst place, which is being reactive to solving problems. For these people, it was uncomfortable to ignore potential problems because they save time and money. They hope that actually it will go under the rug and will be fine. So everything I've mentioned to you before, again, you probably said, I know it. If you have safe locks or something like that, fuse blocks, I remember, a method that will make sure that it will not explode, then perfect, you're in a perfect place. But if not, maybe it's a good time to do it. And yeah, and thank you and good luck, guys, because like design is every new book I read, I'm opening something like a new can of worms, I would say, when it comes to design. And it's great. I still feel that I'm learning after so many years, because there's still a lot of stuff to learn. If you want to contact me and you have some questions or your thoughts on it, you can write email to me, which is mateusz.piaskiewicz at leveldesign.org. And also you can follow me on Twitter at leveldesign_org. And that's it. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I hope that the presentation was not too pessimistic, but yeah, just there are some things that we can change for the better, and it will profit in few upcoming years. And I think we need that because new consoles are coming, fidelity will go up, stress will go up. If we want to stay sane, we need to solve the problems under the rug. Okay, thank you, guys.